You are lying on the sidewalk. Something is wrong. Your chest is tight, your vision is blurring, and you cannot get up. 50 people walk past you in the next 10 minutes. Nobody stops. Not because they are cruel, not because they do not care. They walk past precisely because there are 50 of them. This is one of the strangest discoveries in the history of psychology. The more people who witness someone in trouble, the less likely any single person is to help. It sounds backwards. Your brain assumes safety in numbers. More witnesses should mean more help, more eyes, more hands. But something else happens instead. Something quieter, something almost invisible, until you know to look for it. In March of 1964, a young woman named Kitty Genovese was murdered outside her apartment building in Queens, New York. The attack lasted over half an hour. Newspapers reported that dozens of neighbors heard her cries and did nothing. The exact number of witnesses and what they actually heard has been debated and revised by historians since. But at the time, the story spread fast, and it left a question hanging over the entire country. How could so many people hear a woman dying and not act? Two psychologists refused to accept the easy answer. That answer being that city life had made people cold, or that modern society was rotting from the inside. Bibb Latané and John Darley suspected something more precise was happening. Something built into the wiring of the human mind. So they went into the lab to test it. In one of their experiments, they placed a single participant in a room, alone, filling out a questionnaire. Smoke began seeping in through a vent. Within 2 minutes, most people got up, walked out, and reported it. Simple, direct. A problem appears, a person solves it, then they changed one variable. They placed 3 strangers in the room together, all filling out the same questionnaire, while the same smoke crept in. This time, something shifted. People glanced at each other. They saw everyone else sitting still, and so they sat still too. In some groups, the room filled with smoke thick enough to obscure vision, and still no one moved. Not because they were unaware, because they were watching each other for a signal, and everyone else was doing exactly the same thing. Latané and Darley called this phenomenon diffusion of responsibility. When you are the only witness to an emergency, the weight of the entire situation lands on you alone. There is no one else to defer to, but add a second witness, and the weight splits in half. Add a crowd, and the weight spreads so thin that no single person feels the full pull of it. Everyone assumes someone else is better positioned to act. Everyone waits for someone else to move first, and because everyone is waiting, no one moves at all. There is a second force at work here, one that is even sneakier. It is called pluralistic ignorance. Picture a group of people watching someone collapse. Each person looks around before reacting. They are checking the faces of the crowd, trying to read whether this is actually an emergency or something embarrassing to overreact to. But everyone else is doing the exact same thing. Every face looks calm because everyone is performing calm while privately unsure. So each individual concludes, based on everyone else's blank expression, that this must not be a real crisis. The entire group talks itself out of helping using nothing but silence. Think about how strange that is. A room full of people can convince itself that nothing is wrong, using only the absence of reaction from each other. Nobody says a word, nobody makes a decision, and yet the group behaves as though a unanimous verdict has been reached. Darley and Latané tested this too, in a study that still unsettles people today. A participant sat in a room, believing they were having a discussion over an intercom with other participants in separate rooms. In reality, the other voices were recordings. During the conversation, one voice began to simulate a seizure, choking, calling for help, then falling silent. When participants believed they were the only other person on the call, 85% of them left the room to get help, and most did so within a minute. When participants believed there were 4 other people listening in, only 31% left to get help at all, and those who did took nearly 3 times as long. Nobody in that second group was a bad person. Nobody made a conscious choice to let someone suffer. Their minds simply did what human minds have always done in groups. They looked for social cues, spread the responsibility, and waited. This is where the story gets older than any experiment. Because the bystander effect did not appear in the 20th century. It was not invented by cities or crowded sidewalks or the anonymity of modern life. It was inherited. For most of human history, you lived in small bands of 20 to 50 people. Everyone in the group knew everyone else. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham has argued that human cooperation evolved under exactly these conditions, in tight groups where reputation was everything and responsibility was easy to track. If someone needed help and you were standing there, everyone would know it was you. There was no anonymity to hide behind, no crowd to disappear into. Helping, or failing to help, was permanently attached to your name. Your brain evolved for that world. A world with no bystanders, because there was no such thing as a crowd of strangers. Every witness was someone who would remember what you did and someone whose memory mattered for your survival. In that environment, responsibility was never diffused because there was no one else to diffuse it onto. You were always, functionally, the only one there. Then, over the last few thousand years, and especially over the last 200, human environments changed faster than human psychology could keep up with. Cities grew, strangers multiplied. You now spend your days surrounded by people who will never know your name and will never remember your face. Your ancient responsibility tracking system, built for a village, is now running inside a species that lives in cities of millions. The wiring did not get an update. It just got dropped into an environment it was never built for. This is why the bystander effect feels so uncomfortable to think about. It is not a flaw unique to bad people, or callous people, or city people. It is what happens to an ancient social brain when you remove the one thing that always used to keep it accountable. A witness who knows your name. There is a way out of it, and it has been tested too. Psychologists have found that the diffusion of responsibility can be broken with a single, deliberate act. If you are ever the one in trouble, do not shout, "Somebody help me." Point at one specific person. Say what they are wearing. Say, "You, in the blue jacket, call an ambulance." The moment responsibility is assigned to one identifiable individual, the diffusion collapses instantly. That person is no longer part of an anonymous crowd. They are, once again, the only one there. And the ancient wiring kicks back in exactly the way it did for thousands of generations before cities existed at all. Social psychologist Elizabeth Levy-Palak, who has spent years studying how small interventions shift group behavior at scale, has pointed out that most people dramatically overestimate how willing others are to act and dramatically underestimate their own willingness. Everyone assumes the crowd is more passive than they themselves would be, which means the crowd is not actually full of people who do not care. It is full of individuals who each privately care, each waiting for a signal that never comes because everyone else is waiting for the exact same thing. Next time you are in a crowd and something goes wrong, the calm faces around you are not proof that everything is fine. They are 50 people, each performing the same silence, each hoping someone else already has it handled. You are not lying on that sidewalk anymore. You are one of the 50, and now you know exactly why everyone, including you, has learned to wait.